to put it a little back. Put it there. I don't see a TV, which means there is no TV. I mean, make sure it falls on me. I think it should be here, not on the side. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the daily morning Srimad Bhagavatam class at Sri Sri Radha Kalachandjidam. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtottara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrind ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll continue with a reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8. Lord Krishna shows the universal form. We'll do text 20 through 25 today. And today is also the disappearance day of Srila Ishwara Puri. I'll speak a little bit about that. Okay, please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. We'll do the Mangalacharan together. I know we don't have the TV today, but if you can follow me together. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Presthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So we'll read text 20 through 25, and our focus verse for today is text 25. So if you can pull up your phones, you can go to vedabase.io, vedabase.io. You can go to Srimad Bhagavatam in the library, and then go to Canto 10, Chapter 8, and pick text 20. And if anybody has it, they can start reading the translation for text 20. Do we have a mic? Okay, I'll read the translation till we get a mic for text 20. Srila Shukadev Goswami continued. After Gargamuni, having instructed Nanda Maharaj about Krishna, departed for his own home, Nanda Maharaj was very pleased and considered himself full of all good fortune. So the section today is very, very sweet. The 5 verses that we're going to read is going to start speaking about the beautiful childhood pastimes of Krishna. And this is happening right after Gargamuni had the naming ceremony in the cowshed. It was done in secrecy because they didn't want Kamsa to know, and Vasudev had sent Gargamuni to name his kids. So after Gargamuni left, after hearing everything that he heard from Gargamuni about Krishna and Balram, Nanda Maharaj was so happy. And he felt himself very, very fortunate for having had such beautiful children, wonderful children. Let's continue with text 21 that actually kickstarts the descriptions of the beautiful childhood pastimes of Krishna and Balram. Yes, translation.
Thereafter, Lord Krishna, along with Balaram, began to play with the other children of the cowherd man, thus awakening the transcendental bliss of the cowherd woman.
Text 21. Did you read text 21? Read something else?
It's 27.
After a short time passed, both brothers Rama and Krishna began to crawl on the ground of Raja with the strength of their hands and knees, and thus enjoy their childhood play.
Yeah. So now Krishna and Balram are old enough that they've started crawling. So they says they have enough strength on their hands and knees to enjoy their childhood play. And I wanted to read the purport for this, although this is not the focus verse. This is a wonderful, wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. He says, one Brahmana devotee says, Shrutim apare smritim ithare bharatam anye bhajantau bhava bitaha ahamiha nandam vande yasyalinde param brahma. Let others, fearing material existence, worship the Vedas, the Vedic supplementary Puranas and the Mahabharata. But I shall worship Nanda Maharaj, in whose courtyard the supreme Brahman is crawling. Such a beautiful verse, no? Prabhupada is speaking. In fact, he sandwiches his entire purport between these 2 verses, if you see the purport. He likes this verse so much that he sandwiches it between the purport. For a highly exalted devotee, Kaivalya, merging into the existence of the Supreme, appears no better than hell, narakayate. But here one can simply think of the crawling of Krishna and Balram in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and always merge in transcendental happiness. As long as one is absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna Leela, especially Krishna's childhood pastimes, as Parikshit Maharaj desired to be, one is always merged in actual Kaivalya. Therefore, Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. Lakshyagnyato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. Bhagavatam 176. Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam under the instruction of Narada so that anyone can take advantage of this literature, think of Krishna's pastimes, and always be liberated. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. So far, in the previous literatures, Krishna's pastimes were not directly described, which is why after compiling all these literatures, Vyasadeva was still unhappy, and under the instruction of his spiritual master Narada Muni, he had compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. And this devotee is saying, for those of you who want who are fearing material existence. For most people, this is how it starts off, right? Spiritual life starts off with fear of so many things that they're going through, miseries. He's saying you can worship the Vedas, the Vedic literature. He even goes as far as to say Puranas and the Mahabharatas also. For me, I'm going to worship one person. Who is that person? Nanda Maharaj, he's saying. On whose courtyard Krishna and Balaram were crawling. And this is the great fortune that Nanda Maharaj had, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself was crawling in his courtyard. And now they were at this age. And you know what happens when kids start crawling? Things start going up higher and higher. Right? You can't put anything down. They start pulling things and taking things away. That's exactly what Krishna and Balaram are going to do now. Let's see what they were doing. Text 22.
When Krishna and Balaram, with the strength of their legs, crawled in the muddy places created in Vraja by the cow dung and cow urine, their crawling resembled the crawling of serpents, and the sound of their ankle bells was very charming. Very much pleased by the sound of other people's ankle bells, they used to follow these people as if going to their mothers. But when they saw that these were other people, they became afraid and returned to their real mothers, Yashoda and Rohini.
So Krishna and Balaram, although the supreme personalities of Godheads themselves, were behaving like how normal children would do. And the gopis actually would come and visit Krishna and Balaram. You know, they were so attracted to them that when they would come, they would Krishna and Balaram would hear their ankle bells and they would think, oh, this is my mother Yashoda, this is my mother Rohini. And then as kids would do, they would go to them and then see, oh, this is not really my mother, and rush to their mothers, you know. This is what they were doing. Okay, text 23. Who has the microphone? Oh boy.
Dressed with muddy earth, mixed with cow dung and cow urine, the babies looked very beautiful, and when they went to their mothers, both Yasoda and Rohini picked them up with great affection, embraced them, and allowed them to suck the milk flowing from their breasts. While sucking the breast, the babies smiled and their small teeth were visible. Their mothers, upon seeing those beautiful teeth, enjoyed great transcendental bliss.
Yeah. This would create great transcendental bliss. I mean, mothers would know, and parents would know when the kids voluntarily come to them. And they're seeking for them. It's great joy actually when they're young kids. And Krishna and Balaram were covered with cow dung and mud, it says. But then the parents were very happy to take them, and then because of their incredible love that they had for Krishna and Balaram, the milk would flow from their breasts and they would offer them milk. And they were small kids, and the parents are constantly looking at the mouths of small kids to see when the teeth are coming out, you know. And then they're looking at their teeth and then seeing one small tooth come out of Balaram's face and one mouth, and one small tooth come out of Krishna's mouth. And gives them great bliss, great joy. And you can see how their cosmetics, the acharyas say, was not anything sophisticated. The cosmetics of Krishna and Balaram were cow dung and cow urine. and when they crawled in the mud of Vraj, it made them even more beautiful. They said that the mud made the decoration even more beautiful. And the mothers were enjoying this wonderful rasa exchange with the kids. Okay, let's continue.
Within the house of Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd ladies would enjoy seeing the pastimes of the babies Rama and Krishna. The babies would catch the ends of the calves' tails, and the calves would drag them here and there. When the ladies saw these pastimes, they certainly stopped their household activities and laughed and enjoyed the incidents.
They're becoming naughtier now, right? They started crawling. Now they were getting dirty in the mud and in the dust of the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. Now they were becoming stronger, that they had calves. And Nanda Maharaj had, they say, 900,000 cows. So you can imagine the number of calves that he must have had. And just calves roaming around in the courtyard. And Krishna and Balaram would hold the calves with the tail of the calves with both their hands. And then the calves would feel agitated. Somebody is holding my tail, and start running. And then the kids out of fear would hold them even tighter. Like, no, where am I going? And then when they were dragged through the mud of the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, all the gopis would see this and enjoy. We sing this prayer every month during the month of Damodar, right? Damodar Ashtakam. And it says, Iti drikshvalila birananda kunde, sagosham nimajyantam akhyapayantam. That such beautiful childhood pastimes of Krishna were drowning the residents of Vraja in pools of ecstasy. And the author, Satyavrata Muni, is saying, what use is there of the majestic aspect of Krishna? He says, for those who are attracted by the majestic aspect of Krishna, Krishna is showing that he is conquered not by his majesty, but by the love of the residents of Vrindavan. That he is ready to entertain, right? We are singing Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. That he is the son of Yashoda who gives so much pleasure to the residents of Vrindavan. And he's doing this just like any small child would do, by doing all these kinds of naughty activities where he's catching the tail of the cow. Can't even imagine how that must be, dragging through the mud and dust of the courtyard. And when the gopis see it, the acharyas say they are making fun of Krishna and Balram. Oh, now you've become so strong that you're not even able to stop the calves from running away from you. You think these boys, they're growing up and they're thinking they're so strong now, the kids. But they're not as strong because the calves can easily drag them, and yet they think they're so strong. So the gopis are making fun of them. Oh, Krishna, you're so strong that even the calves can drag you. And they're having so much fun seeing these activities of Krishna. So this text 25, this is the focus verse for today. We'll read the Sanskrit. You can follow from your phones. Shringagnidam Shri Asijala Dvijakantakebhya Krida Paravati Chalau Swasutau Nishedhum Grihyani Kartumapi Yatra Natajjananyau Shekata Apaturalam Manaso Navastam Shringagni Damstri Asijaladvijakantakebhya Krida Paravati Chalau Swasutau Nishedhum Grihyani Kartumapi Yatra Natajjananyau Shekata Apaturalam Manaso Navastam. Please chant. Shringagnidamstrasi jaladvijakantakebhya Krida Paravati Chalau Swasutau Nishedhum Grihyani Kartumapi Yatra Natajjananyau Shekata Apaturalam Manaso Navastam Shringagnidam Striyasi Jaladvijakantakebhya Krida Paravati Chalau Swasutau Nishedhum Grihyani Kartumapi Yatra Natajjananyau Apaturalam Manaso Navastam Shringagnidam Striyasi Jaladvijakantakebhya गृह्यानि कर्तुमपि यत्र न तज्जनन्यो शेखात आपतुरलं manaso navastam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Before we do the word for word, I was noticing that from text 22 onwards, when actually the childhood pastimes are being described, the meter changes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can see it goes from the simple Anushtup to, what is this meter? Yeah, I forget the name of it. Vasanta Tilaka, I think that's what it's called. It's Vasanta is spring, Tilaka is the ornament of the spring. So it moves to a very beautiful meter. And Srimad Bhagavatam also, apart from being the Amala Purana, the spotless Purana, is also poetically very rich. In terms of literature, Sanskrit literature, it is considered the epitome of Sanskrit study. Many words in the Srimad Bhagavatam are there only in Srimad Bhagavatam. So to figure out the meanings, usually in dictionary how we go by meanings is based on the usage of the word, we figure out the meaning, right? When few of us come to an agreement that this is what the word means, then it goes into a dictionary saying this is the meaning of the word. But many meanings of the word in Srimad Bhagavatam is very hard without the commentaries of the acharyas, because that's the only reference for that word. And here you can see how the speaker of the Bhagavatam is also moving us to a different emotive state, just by the poetic aspect of the verses, from going to a simple meter to a wonderful meter of Vasanta Tilaka. That's kind of getting us into the mood of the childhood pastimes of Krishna and Balaram. Okay, let's go for the word for word. Shringi with the cows, Agni, fire, Damshri, monkeys and dogs, Asi, swords, Jhala, water, Dvija, birds. You know what Dvija means? Twice born. Why are birds called twice born? Yes, born from the egg. That's why they're called Dvija. Our tooth are also called Dvija. You know why? Yeah, we have milk tooth and then we have another tooth again. So Dvija, anything that's twice born is called Dvija. So birds here are called Dvija. Kantakebhya and thorns. Krida parau atichalo. The babies, being too restless, engaged in play. Swasutau, their own two sons. Nishedhum, just to stop them. Grihyani, household duties. Kartum api, by executing. Yatra, when. Na, not. Tad jananyau, their mothers Rohini and Yashoda. Shekate, able. Apatu, obtained. Alam, indeed. Manasa, of the mind. Anavastam, equilibrium. When Mother Yashoda and Rohini were unable to protect the babies from calamities threatened by horned cows, by fire, by animals with claws and teeth such as monkeys, dogs, cats, and by thorns, swords, and other weapons on the ground, they were always in anxiety, and their household engagements were disturbed. At that time, they were fully equipoised in transcendental ecstasy known as the distress of material affection, for this was aroused within their minds. Purport. All these pastimes of Krishna and the great enjoyment exhibited by the mothers are transcendental. Nothing about them is material. They are described in the Brahma Samhita as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. In the spiritual world, there is anxiety, there is crying, and there are other feelings similar to those of the material world. But because the reality of those feelings is in the transcendental world, of which this world is only an imitation, Mother Yashoda and Rohini enjoyed them transcendentally. So they were getting even more naughtier. And they were doing dangerous things actually, what Shukdev Goswami is describing here. They're saying calamities threatened by cows, the horns of the cows, but it was Krishna and Balram who were going next to them. They were seeking calamities, going to horn cows, they were going to touch fire. This is what kids do when they start moving around, and that's why I said things go higher and higher. Where it goes out of their reach, you start baby-proofing your homes, and still you can only do so much. They find innovative ways to figure out how they can do things that they're not supposed to do. And Prabhupada's translation here, he specifically says, when Mother Yashoda and Rohini were looking at Krishna and Balram doing all these things and they were not able to stop. Most of the time they would stop, but sometimes they would not be able to stop. They were in great anxiety. They were in great anxiety, and their household engagements were disturbed, it says. We'll get to the anxiety part, which is what Prabhupada is exploring a little bit further in his purport. But the acharyas say their household engagements were disturbed, and this also caused anxiety for them. So one cause of anxiety was the activities of Krishna and Balram and how they were doing very dangerous things. And the other cause of anxiety was that their household activities were disturbed. One way is the straightforward meaning, where they were not able to do their things that they were supposed to do at home, and it was causing anxiety. But why would that cause anxiety in the minds of Mother Yashoda and Rohini? Because they had so many servants to do their jobs, right? They're the queens of Raja, and it was not that they were going to do everything on their own. The acharyas say that they considered their home Krishna's home, and the household activities as a service to Krishna. So when looking at Krishna with anxiety stopped their activities of doing their household activities, they were thinking, I'm not able to do the service that I have to do for Krishna, for his home. And that's why it caused anxiety for Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini. And the other way was the obvious anxiety of the kids going in harm's way and getting harmed. And Prabhupada says it's equivocal, right? These two sentences that Prabhupada is using. At that time, they were fully equipoised in transcendental ecstasy. They were like equipoised. They were not in anxiety at all. They were like completely equipoised in transcendental ecstasy. But this ecstasy was known as distress of material affection. On one side, it's transcendental ecstasy, he says, but that ecstasy is material affection. How is that even possible? So for normal parents, this anxiety comes as a result of this feeling of my child. Right? This is how all of these relationships and everything in this world revolves around me and mine. My home, my wife, my husband, my child, my daughter, my son, like that. So from that perspective, we are always in anxiety. Right? Krishna clearly says why this attachment can cause us anxiety in the Gita. But for somebody who is actually in the transcendental plane, like Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini, why will this cause anxiety? But this anxiety, Prabhupada is saying, is not like the material anxiety that all of us have. And he's quoting this Brahma Samhita verse saying this is Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. This is actual rasa. This is actual exchange of relationship that's happening between Krishna and his devotee. And such an exchange, although externally might seem very stressful or full of anxiety, actually gives great bliss. This is Ananda Chinmaya. It is not like the material misery that we might have. And Rupa Goswami elaborates this further in his Nectar of Devotion in the Southern Wave. All of us have a unique individual relationship with Krishna, right? And this relationship, this exchange of relationship is what gives us rasa, gives birth to rasa. This incredible feeling that all of us have in this relationship, exchange of relationship is rasa. And all of us can have these 5 primary rasas in which we can exchange relationship with Krishna. Right? The Shanta rasa, which is the neutral relationship, where we're looking at God with awe and reverence. And then we have the Dasya rasa, where we are exchanging relationship with Lord in terms of servitude. We have the Sakya rasa, where we are exchanging relationship with the Lord in friendship. And here, like Mother Yashoda and Rohini, they are exchanging relationship or rasa with the Lord in Vatsalya, or parenthood. And you can also exchange relationship or rasa with the Lord in conjugal relationship, madhurya rasa. And then you have 7 other secondary rasas through which you can interact with the Lord. But these primary rasas are called sthayi bhav. Sthayi bhav means our constitutional position. This is the relationship that we have with the Lord. This is always in the background, right? Mother Yashoda and Rohini have this relationship with the Lord, and the sthayi bhav is always in the background. But Rupa Goswami says there are 4 other things that actually build this rasa to a crescendo. That's something that is already blissful, this relationship that they have with the Lord. When 4 other things act simultaneously, this rasa moves to a crescendo, he says. Does anybody know what those 4 other things are other than sthayi bhav? There's also bhav, ends with bhav. Yeah. What is before anubhav? Anu is follow, right? Something has to follow. What is the first one? Vibhava. Yeah, who said that? Vibhava, then anubhava, then Satvika bhava, Ashta Satvika, we've heard this, and then Vyabhachari bhava and Sthayi bhava. All of these 5 combine together to take this rasa to a crescendo where Krishna and the devotee can experience rasa, which is what's happening here, which is why this is not material. Although externally it might seem like they're full of anxiety looking at their children, but this is actually giving them incredible pleasure. So Vibhava, what is Vibhava? We started off with Vibhava, right? What is this Vibhava? Vibhava means some stimuli that increases the rasa. Already they have this parental affection, right? Rohini and Mother Yashoda have this parental affection, but some external stimulus that actually increases this rasa is called Vibhava. For example, this thought might come into their mind that, oh, I want to see the face of my beautiful son. And when they see the face of their son, this gives them great ecstasy. This is Vibhava, this initial stimulus that actually increases their rasa, Rupa Goswami says. And Anubhava follows Vibhava. Now, what is this Anubhava? It is something that they determine to do, that they think they should do to increase their ecstasy more. So when they see the child, like Krishna and Balaram are crawling towards them, the first thing that they do is what? Pick them up. Right? This is Anubhava, something that they predetermined to do. But then something external happens that is not there in their control. It's called Satvika Bhav. Satvika Bhav is this, we've heard of this Ashta Satvika Vihar, right? Symptoms of transcendental ecstasy that can happen in the body which we have no control over. These are involuntary things that happen. And what happens involuntarily here when they come? Krishna and Balaram are crawling towards people's ankle bells, right? And then they see that, oh, it's not my parents, it's not my mother, and they crawl back. And then when they see Krishna and Balaram, they're in great ecstasy. This is Vibhava. And then they're picking them up. This is Anubhava, right? And then what happens? Satvika Bhava. What happens as a result of it? Milk starts secreting, right? This is something that's involuntary. They didn't think about doing it. Because of their intense affection for Krishna and Balaram, they start giving milk to them. This is Satvika Bhav. But what they're experiencing here is called Vyabhachari Bhav or Sanchari Bhav. Prabhupada describes in his NOD. And there are 33 different ways in which this Vyabhachari Bhav or Sanchari Bhav can happen. These are not constant. These come in great waves of great intensity. Just like how this anxiety to protect Krishna and Balaram is there. It's not a constant feeling. They're not constantly in anxiety. But this feeling of anxiety comes in a really strong wave so that can increase the rasa, the transcendental relationship that the mothers have towards Krishna and Balaram. And of course, all of this is built on the platform of Sthayi Bhav, which is their natural relationship of parental affection towards Krishna and Balaram. Which is why Prabhupada is saying here that although it might seem externally that this is material, it is not really a material rasa that they are exchanging. This is Ananda Chinmaya rasa. The Acharyas actually, this is a famous verse that they often quote to say that Krishna and all the residents of Vrindavan, although externally, like you can see the feelings of gopis on how they're in intense separation from Krishna. And they're feeling great pain in their hearts. Externally seeing their tears flowing down, it says the water of Vraj is salty even now because the gopis and the gopas cried so much that their tears mixed with the water in Vraj, that the water became salty. It's so painful for them, Krishna leaving Vrindavan. And yet, the Bhagavatam says, none of it was actually material pain. They didn't feel a tinge of material pain, it says. We'll see that in the next chapter, but I just wanted to read that verse. Oh, it's not this one. Yeah, it's actually chapter 11. This is 10:11:58. The translation says, in this way, all the cowherd men headed by Nanda Maharaj enjoyed topics about the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram with great transcendental pleasure. And they could not even perceive material tribulations. This is what the Acharyas quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam, that although externally it might seem like they're going through great distress or anxiety, it was not material tribulations like all of us go through in this world. Because this is based on Krishna as the center. All of this they're going through in a very transcendental plane, which is very hard for us to understand. At least for me, it's very hard for me to understand at this point on how this is all very blissful. But this is the nature of relationships. Like Prabhupada is saying, everything that's there here should be there in the spiritual world. Right? In his purport, he's saying, in the spiritual world, there is anxiety, there is crying, and there are other feelings similar to those of the material world. But the difference, he says, is the reality of these feelings is in the transcendental world. Here, the reality of these feelings is not for us in a transcendental plane. For us, it's in a very material plane, based on me and myself. We are the center of all of this. But in the spiritual world, this relationship is in a completely transcendental plane. And the Srimad Bhagavatam describes that how they never had any material distress. And the purport to this, I was reading this, was even more incredible by Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to read sections of it. Prabhupada says, here is an instruction about the result of studying or discussing the Krishna Leelas that appear in Srimad Bhagavatam. He's directly saying, all of us can experience the same thing that Maharaj Nanda and the cowherd men of Vraja were experiencing, on how we can completely transcend all of these material tribulations. He says this is a result of hearing and discussing Krishna Leela that is appearing in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda in Vrindavan appeared like ordinary persons of this material world, but they never felt the tribulations of this world, although they sometimes met dangerous situations created by the demons. This is a practical example. If we follow in the footsteps of Nanda Maharaj and the Gopas, we can all be happy simply by discussing the activities of Krishna. This is what Prabhupada is saying. And then he quotes 176, which was a verse that we read in one of the purports today. And the translation goes, Vyasadeva has given this literature so that everyone may understand one's transcendental position simply by discussing Bhagavata Katha. Even at the present moment, everyone, everywhere can be happy and free from material tribulations by following Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no need of austerities and penances, which in this age are very difficult to perform. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore declared, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. By our Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam so that anyone in any part of the world can be absorbed in the Krishna consciousness movement by chanting and hearing about the activities of Krishna and be free from all material tribulations. This is the panacea. Prabhupada writes in the preface, I think, to Srimad Bhagavatam. Is panacea means one medicine that can cure all diseases, right? And our main disease is our attachment to this material world and the tribulations that we go through as a result of that. But we can rise above it just by hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, the Prabhupada is saying. And what this does is, it softens our heart. This is what happens. When we are practicing devotional service, our hard hearts that are like stone starts becoming softer and softer and softer, which is how these emotions can move us. Or else these emotions can never move us, right? For us to be in the state of bhava, one of the symptoms of a person being in the stage of bhava is that their heart is soft. If we have to experience this bhava, vibhava, anubhava, in the actual transcendental sense, our hearts have to become softer. And Prabhupada's prescription is for our hearts to become softer, we have to hear and read Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada is saying we are distributing Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. He is not saying this is for a specific set of people. He's saying this message of Srimad Bhagavatam is a message for everybody in this world. This is why we are distributing Srimad Bhagavatam and trying to present this message of Srimad Bhagavatam to everybody in this world so that they can be happy. This is the quality of a Vaishnava. Right? This is the quality of a Vaishnava of the highest category, where even if they are in total bliss, they're still sad that people all around them are going through anxiety. They are constantly in connect with Krishna. Just like how Nanda Maharaj is completely oblivious to material distresses, people who are in prema, Uttama Adhikaris like Srila Prabhupada, never really had to go through these in the actual sense. Although externally it might seem like this. But they're anxious to give this message because people around them are anxious. This is how the mood of a Vaishnava is. And I was thinking how we should read Bhagavatam. Right? Prabhupada said we should read Bhagavatam, but Prabhupada gave us any other instructions on how we should read Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is going back to the second canto, chapter 1, text 10, where Shukadeva Goswami is glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. He's just, Parikshit Maharaj has asked his question to Shukadeva Goswami, and this is the initial verses that he's saying on what he has to do. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying, that very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite to you because you are the most sincere devotee of the Lord. One who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. So here he gives two qualities that we need to have for us to actually realize the benefit of reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. These two are essential. And Prabhupada expands a little bit more in the purport. At the end of the purport, he says, in the Padma Purana, it is mentioned that Gautama Muni advised Maharaj Ambarish to hear regularly Srimad Bhagavatam as it was recited by Shukadeva Goswami. And herein it is confirmed that Maharaj Ambarish heard Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning to the end as it was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. One who is actually interested in the Bhagavatam, therefore, must not play with it by reading or hearing a portion from here and a portion from there. One must follow in the footsteps of great kings like Maharaj Ambarish or Maharaj Parikshit and hear it from a bona fide representative of Shukadeva Goswami. This is what Prabhupada would always mention, right? You cannot directly jump to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. You have to read Srimad Bhagavatam the order in which Shukadeva Goswami is presenting to Parikshit Maharaj. And even he goes far as to say, you cannot jump here and there. You have to go in the order in which it was presented. And you cannot take it lightly, which is basically goes to the point of Shukadeva Goswami saying Srimad Bhagavatam has to be read with respect. If we don't do that and jump around, then we will not really realize the full potency of what Srimad Bhagavatam has to offer us. In fact, it might become offensive if we do that. If we do that, our hearts will get softened. Right? And one such person who was purified, who was actually from the spiritual world, was Srila Madhavendra Puri. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami dedicates an entire chapter on the wonderful pastimes of Madhavendra Puri in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He had incredible stalwart disciples. Advaita Acharya was his disciple, Nityananda Prabhu was his disciple, Paramananda Puri was his disciple, and Ishwari Puri was also his disciple. I think Pundarik Vidyanidhi was also his disciple. So many wonderful disciples, but it is mentioned that the foremost of all disciples of Madhavendra Puri, although he had so many incredible disciples, was Srila Ishwara Puri. And today is his disappearance day. Why was Ishwara Puri considered the foremost? It was because he had the incredible fortune of being the spiritual master of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose Srila Ishwara Puri to be his spiritual master. When Jagannath Mishra had left his body, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gaya to perform Shraddha ceremony for his father. And there, I think this is mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, where he went to this temple of Vishnu. I forget the name of the temple of Vishnu, where there is this lotus feet of Vishnu being worshipped. So with all the marks and signs. And when he went there, he had this incredible feeling. Till then, he was called as what? Nimai Pandit, right? He was a great scholar in Nadia. And people would actually go the opposite direction. If Mahaprabhu would walk here, they would run away in the opposite direction. Nobody wanted to come near Mahaprabhu because what he would do is defeat them in their argument and then take their side and defeat them in their argument again. So nobody was able to really do anything about Mahaprabhu. So this was the nature of Mahaprabhu. And the devotees in Navadvip were waiting for this day when Nimai Pandit would actually start the Sankirtan movement. Why is he alternately in this mental platform? In fact, the person who was constantly hammering this point, Shankaracharya, says, Nahi nahi rakshati dukring karane in his Bhaja Govindam. That this dukring karane, this intense study of grammar is not really going to protect you. Which in fact he was doing in his commentaries. He would pick a word and pick it apart and give 100 different meanings to it and not the direct meaning, so many. But he himself was saying, Nahi rakshati dukring karane. This intense study of grammar is not really going to help you. So what will help you? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Worship of Govinda. So all the devotees in Navadvip were anxiously waiting because Advaitacharya, Haridas Thakur, Srivas Pandit, all of them were yearning for the appearance of Mahaprabhu. He had appeared. And they thought, okay, this is going to be fine. And yet, no, he was nowhere close to being the devotee that they thought he would be. He was having grammarian fights with people and doing all these kinds of things in the platform of Jnana. But then something incredible happened when he went to Gaya in this temple. When he went, he was in the presence of Ishwara Puri. And he had this feeling of these ecstatic symptoms, this Sattvika Bhav, Ashta Sattvika Bhav in his body. Because of this presence of this incredible devotee, Ishwara Puri. We'll see why he was incredible. But before that, we'll see the mood of Mahaprabhu, how he was teaching us by example. This was one of the purposes of incarnation, that he wanted to show us how to be the perfect devotee of the Lord, right? And he was seeing this incredible person, devotee, who was a pure devotee of the Lord, and then he went home and started making prasadam for his deities, and then Ishwara Puri, it is said, came to his home, and Mahaprabhu personally cooked for him and fed him, and after feeding him sumptuously, massaged him with nice scented oil and put him to rest. This was the service. He was personally massaging his spiritual master. And then the next day, he went to Ishwara Puri and asked him for Diksha, to take shelter. And Ishwara Puri gave him the Gopal mantra as the Diksha mantra for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and told him, you should keep chanting this. This is all you should do. And then it is said Mahaprabhu became a madman chanting this Mahamantra. And this great fortune of Ishwara Puri didn't appear by chance. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, what was the caliber of Ishwara Puri? Madhavendra Puri always had Ishwara Puri by his side. He would always travel with him throughout. By the end of his life, Madhavendra Puri was not even able to do his regular activities that we might do, like even walking. He wouldn't even be able to get out of the bed. So Ishwara Puri would serve him in such menial ways by cleaning his stool and urine with his own hands. This is what he would do. This is how he was serving his spiritual master at the end of his life. And at the end of his life, he was also helping his spiritual master remember Krishna by constantly chanting the names of Krishna, constantly speaking about the pastimes of Krishna. In this way, he was constantly serving his spiritual master in incredible ways. And his spiritual master, Madhavendra Puri, was so pleased by his service. Actually, there are two people it is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The other disciple was Ramachandra Puri. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Madhavendra Puri used these two people as examples on how to serve a spiritual master. Ramachandra Puri, another disciple of Madhavendra Puri, had come at the end of his life to come and see him. At that time, Madhavendra Puri was in total separation from Krishna. And he was constantly cry out, "Hey Krishna, you've left Mathura. When can I see you? My heart is in great pain. It's broken into pieces." Like that, he would cry out in pain. And Ramachandra Puri went to his own spiritual master and said, "If you're in total bliss, you should just remember Brahman." This infuriated Madhavendra Puri so much. And he said, "I'm already in pain of separation from Krishna. And you're saying I have to meditate on Brahman? Don't even come in front of my face again. Get out," he said. He committed a great offense by instructing his own spiritual master, Ramachandra Puri. But Srila Ishwara Puri was the opposite of it. With great humility, he was serving his spiritual master and enhancing the mood of his spiritual master. Actually, Madhavendra Puri sowed the seeds in the Madhva Sampradaya of the love in separation. And it grew to be, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the trunk of that tree, and so many branches grew out of that tree, Chaitanya Charitamrita says. And Prabhupada says, ISKCON is one of those branches of that tree. Prabhupada says. But this seed was sowed by Madhavendra Puri. And Ishwara Puri served Madhavendra Puri so incredibly that when he was leaving his body, Madhavendra Puri blessed Ishwara Puri that you will become a great devotee of the Lord and you will have love of Godhead and go back to the spiritual world. This was the blessing that Madhavendra Puri gave Ishwara Puri. And it is because of this blessing of his spiritual master that Ishwara Puri was able to be the spiritual master of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose Ishwara Puri. So that was the caliber of Ishwara Puri. That is whose disappearance day today. And these days are incredibly potent. The appearance and disappearance days of the Acharyas. Especially the disappearance days, they say, are considered better than the appearance days. Better in the sense that it is not better for us. It is very sorrowful for us because we are losing the physical association of such an exalted Vaishnava. But at the same time, it's a little happy moment because they're going back to the eternal pastimes of Krishna. But it is better in the sense that when they disappear, their glories actually fully manifest. When the acharyas or great personalities appear, people really don't know about them. But when they've lived their lives in incredible fashion, like how Ishwara Puri does, and all the other acharya have done, then their entire wonderful pastimes are illuminated for the entire world to see and recognize who they are. So this is the disappearance day of Ishwara Puri, who served his spiritual master so well that Mahaprabhu served him personally and taught us by example that without the mercy of the spiritual master, we cannot get the mercy of Krishna. So we can pray to Srila Ishwara Puri today to soften our hearts, right, so that we may progress in our path of devotional service and establish our relationship with Krishna that they all were already established in. This is a wonderful day to pray. Sorry, I went a little bit over time, 5 minutes, but I'll stop here and see if there are any questions or reflections, thoughts. Yes, Mataji. Can you pass the mic to Prabhupada Priya Mataji Jaishna? Can you?
I'm just wondering, but you quoted a verse you were reading from something, and you were saying one can know one's position by hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Where was that from? I was trying to find the reference.
It was Bhagavatam 10, 11:58.
In the purport or in the verse?
In the purport, Prabhupada is saying. Here is a clear instruction about the result of studying or discussing the Krishna Leela. And he says, this is a practical example. If we follow in the footsteps of Nanda Maharaj and Gopas, we can all be happy simply by discussing the activities of Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is, there is another verse also, the Acharya's quote on how this is not a material thing, but the 10:11:58 is a famous one. Yes, Mataji, we have to come to the other end now. Who has the mic? We have to change the mic.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hold it at the top here. Yeah.
But then this will get through.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was thinking two things that came to my mind when you were giving class, that you said that the anxiety that in this material, we can't connect to it. But as Prabhupada calls these temples as oasis.
Mm.
So when we are serving here, I mean, I mean, we all experience this on the altar. It's like we have 1 more minute,
Yes.
and the TT is, something is getting dropped off, and it is about to, the curtain is about to open, and that is the anxiety. It's like an exam. But then it's not that we quit. In a material world, when we get some anxiety, we want to quit.
Yeah.
Even as a mother, what to speak of anything. But when it comes to devotional service, we still come back to it again. We want to come back to it, and it's not that somebody is pushing us to do it. But so that's the kind of anxiety, and of course, it's way far from what Yashoda, Maya.
No, that's such a nice example. That we can experience that even in our positions that we are in.
That's why I was connecting that when Prabhupada says that even if the material world is full of fire and tap, but these are the oases where we can come back and serve. We still feel the And the other thing, when you're talking about Ishwara Puri, how he was being Madhavendra Puri was being instructed. I was thinking one thing was coming to my mind, that are we not supposed to ever tell our spiritual master anything? And then I thought of Srila Prabhupada when he would eat something when he was not supposed to. Yamuna Mataji and so many other his disciple would say, you shouldn't do this. And Prabhupada says, oh, these are like my mothers. I should hear. So it's probably not just we should not instruct our spiritual master, but it is also depends like what our mood is while
and that's exactly it. We should understand the mood of the spiritual master, and in this case he was clearly completely off. He was in complete separation from Krishna in the mood of the gopis, and this here is saying, why can't you focus on Brahman? That's not what we say. This was in a very motherly way, like you said, right? The women would say, Prabhupada, this is not proper. This is not good for your health also. Many times, Prabhupada would want something that was not good for his health at all. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj says this, right? Prabhupada would want hot puris in hot ghee and chili to go with it. Because Prabhupada knew that this heat would digest that. But then they didn't give the chili or they didn't give the hot puri. I forget it. And Prabhupada say, you don't know anything about it. But that was done out of care for Prabhupada. It was not done to correct Prabhupada. Right?
Another one that when he wanted to go for Govardhan Parikrama, and it was such a fiasco, like full day went on. Prabhupada's godbrother came into picture, and Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj was so frustrated with him, and he came, and I heard it so many times. It's such a sweet thing. He came and told Prabhupada, why do you do this?
Yes.
And then just Prabhupada softly looked at him and he said, to increase your love for me.
Yes.
And that's such a heart-melting thing. Prabhupada writes in Canto 1, in the purport, I forget which purport, but he says that if, as a human, we have love or attachment towards the lotus feet of a pure devotee, that's the success of a human life. And he was doing it while we could see him, and he's still doing it when we cannot see him.
Yeah. And for the first point, it's just not the temple itself as the oasis. Okay, this is the oasis, but any activity that we do in devotional service could be outside the temple, like the book distributors, the anxiety that they must go through, being on the streets, figuring out new people, but still they go out day after day.
I was just quoting what he says about the temple.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
But anything related to... I remember an entire lecture that Keshav Maharaj gave few years back when he came to Dallas on taking anxiety for Krishna. How that is completely different from the anxiety that we might take for our material endeavors. It actually purifies us, taking anxiety for Krishna. Yes, Manjari Gopika.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
for
Krishna.
another wonderful class, Prabhu.
Thank you.
In class, you quoted Srila Prabhupada saying that essentially the effects of studying, reading, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is that our hearts should become soft. So what if we are reading, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam after X amount of time, and because I also remember a purport where Prabhupada said that the study of the Vedas is not meant for armchair speculators, it's meant for a transformation of character.
Correct.
So what if we have not seen transformation yet? Are we doing something wrong with our hearing and reading? Because we know with chanting, if there's no transformation, we're not chanting correctly.
See, we might think there is no transformation, but there is definitely transformation. I heard Chaitanya Charan Prabhu say once, when we have such feelings, right? Oh, I'm not really progressing. It's good to always look back and see 10 years before how we were and how we are right now. And we feel very confident, oh, I'm progressing so much. It's good to look at the goal and look at how devotees like Ishwara Puri and Madhavendra Puri were and say, my goal is so far away. So it's definitely not that if you're hearing and chanting Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, there is definitely change in the heart. But when we are looking at examples like this, like Ishwarapuri and Madhavendra Puri, that goal might look so far off that we might not be there yet. But it's not that we are stagnant in one place. If we look back, we've definitely, in my own personal experience, I can see in many ways that my thinking has evolved, my heart has softened to a little bit, and it definitely happens. If we are following the instructions of the spiritual master, there is no way that it cannot happen. But it is happening. It's just that sometimes we become too harsh on ourselves and think, oh, I'm not progressing at all. But good thing to do at that point is look back and see how we were when we started this. What are the things that we were doing? What are the things that we were interested in? Right? And what are our interests right now after practicing devotional service for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. And how we would react to a certain situation few years back and how we would react to the same situation right now. Because Krishna constantly gives us that, He wants us to completely take that anartha out of us. So He'll constantly throw similar situations at us to see how we react to that situation. And over time, we can clearly see that, okay, this I have a handle over it. Because that's not really disturbing me so much. And our attraction to hearing and reading is a sign of our heart softening. If we are able to constantly read and hear, it is because our hearts are softening, or else it's a very theoretical thing, right? It's a matter of the heart, Srimad Bhagavatam. Although it might look like it's incredibly sophisticated in terms of poetry, literature, and all the other things, but it's directly touching the heart. The Sanskrit that we are reading, even if we don't understand, Prabhupada says this for Narottam Das Thakur's songs. These Bengali songs, you might not understand a word of it, but it is like a thunderbolt to the heart, he says. It penetrates our heart. So if we are able to come back to it, it's a sign that we are progressing, right? Many people will not be able to come back to it. How many times have you had this experience where you have started reading the Bhagavatam but stopped? Started, stopped, started, stopped. I've had this experience where I really want to do it, but I'm not able to continue. Something is inhibiting me from doing it. But if you're constantly able to do it, which means you overcome that, right? Something in the heart has changed. And this softening will happen, but this softening happens in a very gradual way. Because it's incremental, we might not be able to see the difference. Like how somebody, if they see our kids, they might say, hey, she's grown taller or he has grown taller, right? But we are there with the kids every day. We might not see that growth spurt, but externally people can see. So your mentors can talk to you about it, right? They can say, hey, you've really changed from how you were to how you are. So when we feel like this, is good to have a talk with people who've been with us for a while. Make sense?
That was a wonderful answer. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. And then Tulsi Saknimat.
Yes, thank you. That was very beautiful how you expressed how we are being impacted by in a positive way, whether we may not realize it or not. And just from another angle of vision, I was just reflecting how you said, you quoted Srila Prabhupada saying, how do we read Srimad Bhagavatam? We have to read it with attention and respect. And I was reflecting that actually that also includes having respect for the speaker. And having that respect for the speaker, or having respect for the devotees in the Sangam, softens the heart as well.
Yes.
It's just, I notice when I go into class and I'm thinking, this devotee is giving class today. I don't like this devotee. And I start thinking of all the faults my mind is expert at finding faults with, then my heart doesn't get as softened.
Yes. It's just such an incredible point. The respect for book Bhagavat also has to be for the person Bhagavat. If it's not there for the person Bhagavat, then it becomes a problem. And the respect for devotees in the community of devotees is essential. This is how Rupa Goswami starts off his Nectar of Instruction, is that he categorizes devotees, right? Krishneti yasya giritam manasadhriyeta dikshasya chet pranachibhisya bhajanti misham shushrushaya bachana vigna mananya manya nindadi shunyam hridamipshita sangalabdya, he says. That how, for a Kanishta Adhikari, you respect them in the mind. For a Madhyama Adhikari, you make friendships, you actually serve them. And for a Uttama Adhikari, you completely serve them, right? Actually, for a Madhyama Adhikari, he says you pay obeisances. You pay obeisances to them. For a Kanishta, you respect them in the mind, and for a Uttamadhikari, you serve them without. But respect is never out of question. Irrespective of which category you are in, Rupa Goswami is saying how we should respect them. He never takes respect out of the question at all, which is something that has to be emphasized every time, right? It can be a Kanishta Bhakta, it can be a Madhyama Bhakta, Uttama Bhakta, but we always have to respect the devotees. So such a nice point, Kripamaya Prabhu. Thank you for that. Yes, Tulsi Saki Mataji. Okay. Mishra Bhagwan Prabhu and then Tulsi Saki. Yeah. Oh, that really broke.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita class that we have on Sunday morning, Lord Chaitanya was telling Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that he said that one endeavoring for self-realization should fear attraction for women. Indeed, he should not even glance at their bodily features. So, and we read in the Bhagavatam that Lord Brahma designed women to carry away a man's mind. The verse is, amongst all living entities begotten by Brahma, namely men, demigods, and animals, none but the sage Narayan Rishi is immune to the attraction of Maya in the form of a woman. So when Putana entered Gokula with all her beauty, it drew the attention of all the inhabitants of Vraja, especially the men. So Lord Chaitanya is saying that you should not even glance at the bodily features of women, but then it says in the Bhagavatam that no one is free from that attraction, immune to it, except for somebody named Narayan Rishi.
Yes.
And then even the cowherd men who were pure devotees and associates of Krishna, when Putana came in all her beauty, they were drawn, their attention was drawn. So how does Lord Chaitanya's instruction work for people when they're not Narayan Rishi?
Actually, this is the principle of this material world. The sexual enjoyment is the principle of this material world. And usually we are able to get out of the gross sexual aspect. We are able to control our minds from the gross sexual aspect. What is difficult is labh, man and patishta, the subtler aspects of like profit, adoration, and what is the other one? Distinction. So our idea is not to focus on what we should not do. Our idea is to focus on what we should do, so that this attachment to Krishna is so high that all this will not feel valuable for us. That's the idea. So initially, we have these boundaries for us, where in terms of the regulative principles, where feel attracted, get married, have one woman. That's the idea. But over time, as we practice devotional service, this attraction becomes tuchcha. Like how Yamunacharya says, right? When this thought comes through my mind, I spit at it. That's what happens. And specifically in terms of Putana, it is Yogamaya who is allowing it to do. Allowing Putana to enter in the first place. So everything in terms of the Putana Leela is orchestrated by Yogamaya. It's the internal potency of the Lord. So that is a little different. But in general, this is true. That's why we have in the beginning Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, devotional service according to rules and regulations, so that we can be safeguarded from these things that can easily drive us away. But that's not the focus. The focus is not to stay away from those things. The focus is to get attached to Krishna, so that that taste, the higher taste, like Prabhupada would say, is so high that all these look so like pieces of garbage on the street. So that's what it is. Is that okay? Tulsi Saki Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a wonderful class. And I know all the devotees brought these points up, but some of the points you said, like full respect and full attention, I want to highlight that as well. In today's time and age, we have so much distraction.
Yeah.
And so this full attention, even for me, I can hear classes, at home, But the moment I come here and in the association of sincere devotees, I'm listening, my quality of absorption increases so much. So really appreciating all the devotees that are giving regular classes so that we can increase our attention, and all devotees like you who give Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Prabhupada Priya, because I was just reading His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, he just got his Bhakti Siddhanta. And in his offering, he said, if I can put in as much effort into reading his books as he's put into writing them, then maybe it will amount to something. Yeah. The whole thing is so beautiful and humble. So for all those devotees who are helping facilitate this hearing and chanting for all of us devotees, thank you so much.
Thank you also for being a regular member of the Srimad Bhagavatam class, right? It's very inspiring. And without devotees coming regularly, how is the speaker going to speak? Who is the speaker going to speak to? So that's a very important aspect of the Bhagavatam class.
Good fortune.
Yeah, it's all of us help each other. This is how we progress in bhakti. This is why we have communities. This is why we have sangha. In that, if we are trying to do this alone, it's very hard. Only by doing it together and helping each other in whichever ways we can we progress. So all of us are doing whatever we can to each other. So thank you all very much. We've gone way over time, but we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Ishwara Puri ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah, Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrindi ki jai.